So today I'm going to be redoing my front porch. I'm just going to start by doing the demo, of course with any project. And on this one, this tongue and groove siding is just nailed directly to the studs. So all I'm going to do is remove the trim and then basically use the old siding as sheeting, which it kind of is. So I'm going to leave that in place, but otherwise everything else is coming out. I'm going to redo all the lattice and make those removable panels because I want to have access underneath just in case, because you never know. But yeah, I'm gonna redo the siding, the lattice, and then repaint everything. So for the lattice, I'm going to start by making a 2x4 box out of pressure treated, and I'm just going to screw it all together and then screw it into the block next to it and then also the joist above. That's not going anywhere. And for the frame of the lattice, I'm going to be using 1x4, but it's going to be PVC. It's almost double what prime pine is, but I'll never have to think about it again. And since this is my house and it's worth it to me to never think about it again, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be pocket screwing this frame together. And I'll use some exterior rated screws. These are just the Craig pocket hole jig, but I'll be using some, I don't know, they're like blue coated exterior screws just in case, even though there's very little chance of water getting in there, but I'm still gonna do it just in case. And then up against the wall, I have some like decorative block on the outside on the foundation, so I need to describe a little bit. I didn't need it to be perfect, but I wanted it to go around and not be such a big gap on the one side. For the lattice, I just set it on the frame and kind of traced out where I wanted it, what looked best, and cut it. And I'm going to use some 3/4 brads, obviously that are exterior rated, and just pin it to the back, and it'll just be one piece that then I can screw onto the frame and then remove if I need. So I'm going to be using just some trim screws. They're very small and it's not a whole lot. Obviously there's no weight or anything really to this, so I just did about 8 on the whole thing and made sure it was, not going anywhere, and called it good. So now it should be pretty easy to remove if I ever need to go under there. So before I get too far ahead on the siding, I'm just going to secure any of the old siding just with some 15 gauge. So for the siding, I'm going to be going with some LP lap siding, and so for the corners, I'm going to be using some 5/4 by 4. Just with the way the lap ends up, you need a little bit of a reveal, so you gotta have the depth for where the lap ends. So I'm just gonna be making the corners out of that and putting some caulking in between it, and then tacking it together, and then putting it on the wall. And now you can see there's a little piece missing at the bottom there. That's where the piece had just swelled, the old piece of siding, so I just cut it out and I'll scab in another piece that I can use to kind of fill in the gap there. And then on the top, on the freeze board, I'm just doing 1x2 as well, just to end it. So on the bottom on lap siding, you want to have a starter strip, and I just ripped a 2-inch starter strip, and just with a skill saw, obviously you can tell it's not a perfect cut, but it doesn't need to be. So I'm just going to start with my first piece, just so that that starter strip, you know, bumps it out just like all the other laps will. And I'm just going to nail it off level and keep going from there. And now I'm shooting only on studs. I'm also shooting to sheeting, but I'm really only worried about studs, so I'm going to shoot in between each stud as well, but it's not really needed. I'm just making sure I hit studs at least. And these gecko gauges make this super easy by yourself. You can make some that are just kind of homemade or whatever, but I don't know, I do it enough to where these are nice to have. And on the top piece, this porch is sloping down. I don't know, it's not like sagging or anything, it's on the foundation and it's solid, but it's about an inch over 11 feet difference from front to back. Not sure why, but it is, so the rip is a little bit of an angle. And I decided to just shoot 15 gauge into the top strip because you don't want those big nails from the sighting gun in the top there, so that's what I do. And now I'm just gonna caulk it off, and I like to use Volcom. I know a lot of guys use OSI, but with this wood texture, the Volcom has kind of a graininess to it, and I think it blends in a lot better, and it's a better product in my opinion. Not that OSI isn't, but I think Volcom's better. So, and with this, I really try not to touch it. Whatever I tool it with the gun, or whatever that is like, I should say, is the way I'm going to keep it. I try not to go over it with my finger unless I absolutely have to, and I'll keep some mineral with me to make sure it's smooth. So I'm just going to make my way around the house and keep going up with the lap siding. And again, I'm just making sure I hit studs at minimum. So now this top rip is level now. On the front, it's just the sides that's angled. So I went around the house and finished it up, and just more of the same. And I'm gonna put everything back together and let the Volcom gas out for a couple days and dry, and then I'm gonna come back and paint it. So, but this is what it looks like. I think it's coming together pretty well for what it is. Can't do a whole lot with the slope of the front porch, but I like the way it's come out so far. So me personally, I'm going to power wash anything on the exterior of a house before I paint something. And I had painted this house when I first bought it 2 years ago, and I knew I was going to redo this front porch, so there was quite a bit of loose, I don't know, like just paint peeling and stuff that I just kind of didn't care about because I knew I was going to come back to it. So that's what I'm trying to power wash at the top there, right underneath the window, before I go too far. And of course I'll prime all that and do all the necessary things to prep it. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to paint this front sidewall on the steps. I just think obviously all the paint's peeling and it looks bad, so might as well just paint it. So first I'm just going to prime everything, and I'm using the same, obviously the primer is a different color, but the paint is the same paint, same mix as the rest of the house, so it doesn't really matter the overspray. I just don't want to go too high, so just tape the windows off enough to not overspray onto them. Obviously I'm also going to prime all the block and anything that's peeling and stuff like that. So now this is the top coat, and I'm just using a 515 tip, and looking back at this, the pressure is not nearly high enough. I don't know why on the gun I just didn't turn it up, but anyways, it's coming out. I also painted the lattice. It didn't really need to be, but I don't know, it was already slightly different, so I wanted to make sure everything was one color, and I had the gun out, so I got a little bit of overspray on the grass, that's for sure, but I'll cut it in a week, and since it's my house, I don't really care. And yeah, so this is how it came out. It definitely looks a lot better than what it was. There's obviously some things I would maybe do better, but for what this house is and where it is and all that kind of stuff, it'll be alright. So this is final product.